Hello, my name's Elijah Wells, and today's review is Damien Chazelle's new movie, Babylon. The story of Babylon follows Diego Calva, who plays Manuel Torres, or more commonly known as Manny, throughout the entire film, as he rises from an animal wrangler to the top of the studio rankings, as in the top studio exec. And while a lot of his supporting roles like Margot Robbie, Natalie Leroy, and Brad Pitt's Conrad, who basically become like from established actors to fall into the background to rising actors to fallen again into the background, as well as Hollywood going into the new direction of moral codes and the talkie cinema as it goes through a decade and decades worth of like 1920s to 30s to eventually 1950s cinema. With another film by Damien Chazelle, who has directed films like Whiplash, La La Land, and of course First Man from 2018, being his first film for now 4 years now. And for this time, he goes really all out with the graphic nature and how debaucheral 2020's Hollywood was, with, would I say, a lot of orgies and a lot of cocaine and a lot of full frontal nudity. And what to say, he really does not hold back at all, even for its runtime, which some may deem a little bit excessive, being like 3 hours and 10 minutes long, but I think it can be utilised in a very interesting way. But I have like a plethora of problems with Babylon, which I do like to go into much more depth in. Like, for example, like the opening scenes and the closing scenes, which, what I'll say, are scenes I didn't really like, to be honest, but for completely different reasons. For example, the opening scene, which will be a bit of a potent testament whether you're going to like this movie or not, literally starts off with an elephant defecating diarrhea onto Manny, like, and of course you get a shot of an elephant's anus as well, which I had to briefly look away because I didn't want to see that, like an elephant's anus like pouring out diarrhea. Then the movie, we'll just say, goes. Let's say it just goes from 1 to 60 in the snap of your fingers, as in, it literally begins with an orgy scene with, we'll just say, a lot of golden showers, a lot of cocaine, and a lot of orgies. And we have Lady Fei Su, played by Lin Jan Li, who literally sings about fondling some lady's pussy. So, really, if you want something wholesome and friendly for the entire family, this is not exactly one to go for. And of course, one of the characters, like ODs, like even though we don't, she doesn't get mentioned again, or very briefly, but never again. And the ending scene, which I don't want to give way too much away from, is basically Manny watches Singing in the Rain, and the movie just goes out of its way to make some sort of montage of cinema, like starts off like silent cinema, like early experimental stuff, then goes musical, then I think this is where it gets a little bit ridiculous, in my opinion, where it just goes to like T2 Judgment Day, 2001 Space Odyssey, Avatar, The Matrix, and I think Toy Story as well, where it just feels like a really cheap montage of cinema, like something you can easily get off YouTube, like the beauty of cinema, like how cinema progressed from silent to streaming. Like, even though my co-workers at cinema I work with kind of defended the ending as basically like cinema is not going to really go away. Like, there was like home media, there was like TV, there's now streaming, like cinema is never going to go away. For me, it just feels really pretentious, the ending, it just comes off like that. And of course there's a lot of strobe lighting in the ending, I think just for like just some fancy artsy effect, but I think this is kind of where movies like weaker points just kind of like belittle the movie a little bit, my liking. Even though I've definitely slandered already Babylon quite a bit already, but I can definitely say the movie, besides for the opening and the closing scenes, which are just not really that great for differing reasons, the movie itself is pretty decent, to be honest. Like, the cinematography is absolutely gorgeous, as usual for like Damien Chazelle's movies, and he really went out way more for design work for the movie, like the costuming work, particularly Manny in the opening scene, no, particularly of Margot Robbie's character, Nellie, in the opening scene of the film, with the completely red dress, with that red dress. It's actually really nice to look at, as well as a lot of the costuming work is really good, and also his set decoration is marvelous in this movie. Like, I think this is him like Damien Chazelle at this biggest world building film. Like, there's more of a world to his film compared to something like Whiplash and La La Land. Like, I think he really set himself out. Like, he really completely transformed the city of Hollywood with that one. Like, it does look unbelievably brilliant, this one. Like, some brilliant sets there. And the score, the music as well. Like, even though like La La Land, it's very oriented in like jazz music, and also yes, the jazz music is in this movie is incredibly catchy. Is really brilliant as well, particularly in one of the more slower parts and the more intimate moments with Manny and Ellie. It does really shine its brightness as well. And the acting of as well as Diego Calva, Margot Robbie, and Brad Pitt is really good. I really like specific scenes I like of acting, like Margot, like when Nelly went to some really upper class posh party and just basically says, "Oh look, I'm a skank from New Jersey," and completely gouges on a lot of food and just mocks and criticizes a lot of guests before returning to vomit on the executive. I kind of, even though this is like some gross out humor, which usually tends to hit or miss in my liking, but for me, I think I definitely did get a chuckle out of that moment. I think one scene I really like, or like Brad Pitt's acting in the movie, is like when Jack confronts Eleanor, who played by Jean Smart. He confronts her over an unflattering article she written about him, saying, "Oh, he has gone irrelevant," and particularly as she explained, like, not really going irrelevant. Like, people will discover you like years later and feel like the event and feel your adventure, and you could like inspire them. Like, both of their acting and both of their chemistry is like extremely brilliant in this moment, as Brad Pitt's character Jack completely confronts the reality that he's pretty much the Hollywood he used to know is completely behind him. And Diego Calva, I really liked his character arc. I think this is his best. This is the best character arc in my opinion for the movie. Like, he start off like an animal wrangler who, of course, gets defecated on by a diarrheal elephant, then rises on the top from like from a set runner to essentially being one of the biggest heads of a studio. To unfortunately, after some screw up with a mob boss, he goes low for a little bit and becomes like a radio shop owner in New York. Again, there are two sequences in the movie I really like. One being like a battle scene where Manny has to fetch the cameras because one accidentally got destroyed during one of the sets of a battle scene, being like some medieval era history, and all the actors who are clearly drunk in this set, instead of like being play fighting and use some like clever editing or sound effects or special effects, they literally just went out and murdered each other. Like, one comes out completely impaled with like a whole flag coming out of his torso, and a lot of blood splattering everywhere. I think this is honestly cracking action, even though the movie isn't really action as well. And of course, some really gorgeous music in the background, and some splendid cinematography as well. And another sequence I like is when Manny has to confront Tommy McGuire's character, or Tom McKay, who is a stoned out of his mind mob boss who says, the parties today in Hollywood, they're no good." And it's almost like it's all recorded scene from Mulholland Drive, where it almost enters this weird dreamscape. Like, there's he and Manny and one of his assistants goes into this cave where it's the most debauched version of Hollywood, like the most extreme version, like two women like beating each other up to a bloody pulp, a lot of defigurations, and a alligator and a strong muscular man who's eating mice just for money. Like, it feels like really like some surrealist horror movie, something almost David Lynchian. It's definitely really spooky, particularly some jump scares like when we first meet the alligator. And of course, it kind of feels like oddly whimsical, as even though Tobey Maguire is only in this film for like something like 5 or so minutes top, he really did go all out in this movie, as especially he is the executive producer of this movie as well. Like, he really gave it its all, even though his performance is unfortunately all too brief in this movie. Even though the movie almost fell apart due to its fairly excessive opening scene and its runtime, which may turn off some people, and an ending that just comes off as extremely pretentious and self-indulgent, in my opinion. However, there are some pockets of great moments, like its cinematography and the designs of the movie, and as well as the music by Justin Hurwitz, which is an absolute slam dunk usually for Damien Chazelle, as well as the performances of Diego Calva, Margot Robbie, and Brad Pitt, and Gene Smart in the movie. The movie is definitely not for the faint of heart, and of course there's some great stuff here and there, and this movie really is not for everyone in my opinion, but if this is stuff for you, or if you're really amped up for another Damien Chazelle movie, and if you really like Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie, then this film's for you. Or really, I thought the film was just okay, to be honest. So I'm feeling a 6 out of 10 for this one. So, what do you think of Babylon? Let me know in the comments down below, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and this is Elijah Wells, and bye!